So tune in, vibe out, this song's for you.
All right, we got another episode here for season 4. I have a very special guest with us, Tomas. Go ahead and introduce yourself, brother, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get into the conversation of how you're helping other people in life.
Sure. My name is Tomas, but I go by UNC, which is a moniker, Universal Network of Consciousness. Is a podcast that I've started, but I'm a life coach, a health and life coach. I help people um, plan and have fulfillment, to their lives. Um, Probably specialized, working with people that come from some type of broken family environment. I come from, that type of environment. Also created that environment, but did the work needed to make sure that I was on the right path to provide a good life for myself and for my family, but didn't do it in the correct fashion in which it should. So I was just trying help out people as far as find fulfillment in their lives.
Okay, and you say you're a life coach, so what does that entail? How are you helping other people here?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, so life coach. I mean, I think I've been probably coaching people for life for a long time, starting with my own family,
Yeah.
nephews, friends, things of that nature. So I think that, life coach is I became certified as far as, life coach, and I will, do it for those who are serious and they are looking at, making changes in their lives. It's really just kind of going through where they're at, where they're trying to go and outlining that. That is what UNC is. I've built or been trying to build a community. Definitely have a lot of good people, along the way throughout my life that I've met. As far as I primarily focus in life coaching now, but in a former life, I mean, I was IT consulting and communications for many years, 20 plus 25 years. So met a lot of great people, have a lot of good, network of folks in all different industries. And that's what, Unc is. So as I talk to people, I'm not an expert in everything. I try and help people understand here are directions that you're looking for and make sure that they get connected with the right folks that can take them, in specific areas that I'm unable to. So that's really kind of where, life coach, really kind of comes in. But spent a bunch of life, original part of life in sales and, trying to earn money and make money and do things that way. And, had, pretty good success in that. But I realized for myself that more living life is more than just going out here and doing the day to day. I'm a man of faith, so I've got a spiritual, background. Um, may not have always been as connected as I should have, but when you make mistakes in life and you realize the circumstances of that, you definitely realize that you have to make changes. So I've realized and come to realization that I have taken enough from this world, and it's now my time in life to give back, more to make sure that others, understand, what they're doing, so they don't really take as much. Because one thing I do know, whatever you take, you are going to give. If you give good energy, good energy will come back. So I just, a motto and a mindset that I live by that seems to prove itself true more times than not.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the UNC title for your business
Man,
here?
I
Because it's pretty
there's
unique. I like it.
so I mean the reality is I'll give a quick short story background. When I was a teenager, or just became 18 years old. um Man, basically, I lost a brother, and he was my brother-in-law. He married my sister, but he passed away, and it was unfortunate because I got two nephews, that he had left behind with my sister, and they were young, so instantly it just kind of became kind of a figure in their life. I kind of started doing things, right away, being part of their life, and which kind of got me probably growing up, at an early age, maybe a little sooner than I should have. But that's kind of where Unk, the name, as far as really kind of started. But it just made sense. I mean, it encompasses everything, and I give credit to the man above for inspiring me and providing me with connectivity and being able to be a vessel to provide any level of comfort or messages to others. So I mean, I give kind of credit there, but just kind of came up with it. I mean, I represent, I'm the age of an uncle. I am an uncle. I've been kind of that figure to many people. And I just, it just made sense. So it just kind of all came together, and it represented all, three pieces of what I feel is, kind of the Trinity. Universe is our spiritual sense, network is our physical sense, and consciousness is our mental and emotional sense. So I kind of just put it all together. That's where the name came from.
Yeah, that's a really cool concept. I like it because
Thank
typically uncles like the elder or the older person that's
you.
kind of
Yeah,
helping you and guiding you. Because
yeah,
I know
yeah.
a lot of black men or just men in general need a lot of male mentorship. So it's good that you're doing
No,
that.
it's and absolutely. I mean, and it's and I won't. I mean, I will say I found out that my biological father, isn't black. I mean, I'm a light skinned man, and I didn't know who my biological father was until just maybe within the last 3 years. So that's the background that I come from, and I say this because I'm not. Yes, I know there's going to be a lot of, black men, that will relate because they'll see a figure of a person that has related. I grew up in Northern California. I'm from, originally from Richmond, California. I left California during COVID, so I'm no longer there. I'm in Nevada now. But I, I, um, I'm here to help any and everyone. There's a lot of people that don't have guidance. There's a lot of people that come from backgrounds that just don't have a level of male leadership. And who my brother-in-law was to me was a true male leader in my life, because my sister is 12, 13 years older than me. So he was older. So he represented a person for me that I really looked up to, and I lost him at the age of 18. And so for direction of my life at that point was really on me, as opposed to, checking with, should I do this? Should I do that? I didn't really have that. I just kind of went out there and grew up really fast. Um, so
I'm
yeah,
sorry to
yeah,
hear that,
that's
brother. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, no, 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 no. I mean that's okay. That's
Mhm.
long ago. I'm not saying it from a sympathy story. I'm saying that's just kind of that's how it started. So that was a starting process, not realizing, of the cycle and the path, for me. And it's come, completely full circle. What's interesting is um he was into communications. This is early on when pagers and just were, coming out, and cell phones were the big bricks, and things were, huge. You had to spend a ton of money in order to get that level of technology back then. And I was young, and I had no intentions on whatsoever, Duran, and ever being in anything as far as communications. Yet I ended up spending 25 plus years, you know, 13 of which were, my own business and consulting company, that I did. I gotten out of it. I didn't want to do it anymore, but for big corporation as well as, on my own. And, he kind of showed me the way. So again, I realized knowledge was being passed to me, and the best way that you can ever transfer on knowledge and is to, to pass on knowledge, is to transfer from one person to another. So that's where life coaching and social media has come in.
Yeah. Um, I mentor a lot of, people of color as well too, or
Okay.
just people in general. Right
Yep.
now, I'm mentoring high school's kids, and I'm mentoring college students as well too.
Okay.
So I'm kind
Yeah.
of like asking them the questions like, what do they want to do after college? What do they see themselves 5, 6 years from now? And just having those genuine conversations, because when I grew up, I didn't have any mentorships around me, specifically, men of any race around me,
Yeah.
like to kind of help me, to guide me to be a man. I had to kind of learn all of the skills on my own. Like
Mhm.
it kind of looks different for every man, like, because society tells us this is what a man's supposed to look like and how he's supposed to navigate in the world, and I didn't have any of that direction to kind of go into. So I had to kind of lean into, what my mom kind of taught me about what a man would be like, even though she's not a man herself. She kind of like instilled some of the values that preferably that's nice about me, not going out here getting women pregnant, having multiple baby mamas and stuff like that. And I realized that was really crucial for me to kind of understand, what a man is gonna, eventually supposed to act like. And
Yeah.
just, and I didn't even have a lot of like mentor or friends growing up either that I can kind of look to, as me. I just had this idealistic mindset of what a man is supposed to look like. But, I had to kick a lot of men, a lot of guy friends that I did eventually become friends with out of my life because, they did not exemplify any of the examples that my mom taught me and things of that nature. So it's a really tough world out here, and men, they need more mentorships. They need more guidance
No,
because if we did,
I agree. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I was one. I mean, I had my first child when I was the age of 19. He passed away less than a month after I turned 18. I'm not blaming that from taking place, but lack of guidance, not really knowing what you should be doing. You start, you focus then, on things that make you feel good, that stimulate you, ladies, going out, hanging,
Mhm,
different things that really don't matter. You think it matters because you can get attention and it's like, well,
mhm,
this is what I'm supposed to do. Not really.
mhm,
Well, yeah, you're supposed to do that when the time is right. But I mean, that's I say that because I don't think it's a coincidence. When I had when the lack of leadership was there for me, that I probably made some decisions that coincided with being a little bit, with loss of direction. So that's primarily what I try and do. I just try and make sure now the people that I actually coach, that they have solid direction. They will never say I wasn't told. I'm a person that's going to give it to you direct. I'm not here for you to like me. I'm here for you just to understand, that this is what takes place. And anyone that's in my life, they find value, to me, and I find value to them. Otherwise, they won't be in my life. And that's from friends, family, business relationships. There's no reason to have people that provide zero value to you to be a part of everything, because they will just take and it will end up hurting you and the others around you. It doesn't have to be value where you're exchanging money or anything. It could just
mhm.
be ideas, it's interests, it's common goals, it's community, it's beliefs. But we have value to one another. Otherwise, we're just we're not doing anything. So I just I try and make sure that everyone realizes that, hey, I'm gonna provide as much value as I can. I'm just gonna shoot it to you, direct. You want to get the real, about life. You don't ever want to go through and be like, wow, man, I wish I would have known. Well, we can say I'm not an I told you so person, but it's like, hey, don't say that you weren't told. Just say you made, because this is accountability. I really teach this. It's not that you weren't told, you made a choice otherwise. And it's okay that you made that choice, because what I need you to do is understand what took place once you made that choice. There was a set of things that went. And we need to go through it, because we need to make sure that what you don't repeat that cycle. Because if you make the same choice again in a similar, it'll be a different decision, but the environment may be the same. And if you make a similar decision, I need you to understand a similar result may happen. But if I make a different one, let's see what that may, let's outline it. Let's see what that may look like. And then let's go, let's see what that is. Like I don't want people to, it's really hard for people to have good lives and to feel good about themselves and move forward. We talk about mental health when they when everything, they have to point the finger. They got to point to here or him or her or this and that, because at the end of the day, there always will be something that you can blame for your environment. But if you just stop and say, what can I do to take accountability, whether it was my decision, my action to put myself in this position, or I'm in this position, what can I do to make sure that I'm not in it anymore? Your mindset changes. Just life isn't the same. You don't go through with the same levels of despair mentally. You don't go through with the same level of, I would say, desperation that life isn't giving you what you expected or you feel life should, or that you feel that you deserve. And I hear that quite a bit, what people deserve, as opposed to what people go out and earn.
Yeah,
So that's just kind of my 2 cents as far as that. But that's some of the life coaching. I mean, that's really kind of the mindset of where I come from.
yeah. So now I want to ask you, like, when you're mentoring, I'm assuming it's a combination of young guys or young. Do you do any females or anything like that? Or
I've coached ladies. I've coached. I'm not. I mean, so everyone is going to be an adult.
Mhm.
I mean, and anybody that um, I've had conversations with people that may have just become, adults, 18, stuff like that. We'll talk to people that are young, but I mean, as far as like coaching and stuff, most people are young adults. But no, I will coach men and women. I'm not. Look, I understand. I'm a man of faith, as I said. So
Mhm.
for me, no matter what, we can be talking about worldly stuff, and I'll be direct about whatever situation you're in. But I still have an understanding of how conceptually life, um, from a spiritual basis, works best for people. So that's what you're gonna get. It's still gonna have a root, from my faith. So I have an understanding of, men and their leadership and visions and how they should, go about life. I have an understanding of how, if women want certain aspects of life, there's going to be a certain, way and nurture and nurturing way that you're going to have to go about, yourself, if you want to be that way. However, if you want to achieve certain things in life, there's a mindset for it. There's time frames, the way that we kind of connect and interconnect with one another as men and women. And people need to really understand the dynamics of that and how they typically work the best. Life has changed. This world is different than when it was 100 years ago,
Mhm.
long before we existed. So, people have to develop and understand, but I still root my beliefs again in faith, and for the ones that I know that understand and follow certain, um, I would say, morals, their life tends to go well. So it doesn't make a difference whether it's man or woman. I mean, it's going to be rooted with the same foundation.
Yeah. And now I have another question that I want to ask you.
Yes, sir.
So when you find these different mentees, or whatever you want to call
Mhm.
them, how you to life coach them, what if they come to you like say, I don't really believe in, God, and I have no spiritual or, faith of religion or
Mhm.
anything like that? How do you handle those certain situations?
So
Because
here's
it's
the
kind of
thing.
hard.
So there's always going to be a plan and a path that they've talked to, that they have talked through, they have written down, they understand the direction that they're going, they're taking those steps. But it's at the point where I may have been spotting them at first and making sure they're doing the exercise correctly, but after 3 to 6 months, they're not experts, but they don't have to continue paying me. Like, they don't need to come to me about telling you what to do. You can then go out on their own. Multiple exercises. You've seen other people. Now you understand why they're doing it differently. Oh, you will start making moves. But you may still need other things in life. So I'm just, one to kind of make sure that gets there. Some people, they need a life coach. They need a therapist. Some people, they want to look for relationships. So they need people to help them as far as finding, matches, and, as far as, finding someone, in their life. Some people also need a spiritual sense, and they need to, find a pastor or a church or a place to belong, that they can feel a sense of presence. I'm not everywhere, so I can help people try and figure out the proper ways of of doing that and how to understand that. So it's really that. Life coach is anyone that has a life coach for a long time. That life coach is working them, for the most part. I mean, it's not here for that. You're not here to I'm not here to make money or get rich or do anything off of helping people. This is literally just to provide knowledge and, an understanding, for a person to go about their life differently.
Okay.
I know
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give back. Go ahead.
I got two more questions and I'll let you
Sure.
go here.
Sure.
So take us through the process of how you work with your mentorees. Like
Well,
how do you normally, like, what kind of questions you ask them to see if they're the right fit for you?
I mean, a person is a right fit if they're ready to make a change. The reality is that I'm not here to force your change. So you're a right fit if you're willing to make a change. I'll help you show a
It's that
direction.
simple.
Well, it is. You have to think about it. if someone wants to have a different life, they have to be willing to make changes in their life for it to be
Mm-hmm.
different. I can only tell you, if you don't want to do it, you can never be a right fit. But if a person is willing to make changes, they'll be a right fit. There's nothing perfect. Everyone's different. So I can't say this is the exact thing. If I said do this and every person did everything, that would be great. But I'm not telling people what to do because it's not my life, it's theirs. I'm asking them what they want from life. I'm asking them what they're missing. I'm asking them, what and why they're missing it. Why do they need it? What is the meaning? They have to tell me these things so then they can define what they're going after. And then as they understand what they're going after, we can break down, this is where you're at. Here are the things. This is what, and I'm not a fantasy player. I'm not comes out and says, "Hey, this is what I wanted." Oh, okay, this is what you can do, and you can have it. No, I'm truthful about as much as I know from experiences and from the network of people that I know what is real and not. But I'm not an expert in everything, and I won't ever claim to be. And if there's things that I get questions on and I don't know the answer, I'll make sure that I get someone who does to give that person an answer. It won't even come from me, right? I'll make sure I connect with someone who does. But it's really that I need to understand. The questions are, what are you looking to accomplish? Like a person to, I can't, I don't sell services. So I'm not selling someone or trying to convince someone that they should be different. Someone is understanding their life is not how they want it to be, and they want something to be different, and they just don't understand what or how. Now I've had a lot of relationships with people and friends, and I've, been a person that has networked, for the most part, the majority of his life. But I had to learn it, through other people and people that are better than me. They're people that have done things. I've learned from people that are younger than me. I've learned from people that are older than me. I've learned from men. I've learned from women. And I just from my experiences, I've been able to kind of put things together to where I have a unique ability that to resonate and relate to the person that I'm talking to. So as they start really giving me kind of where they've come from and what's going on, I just have whatever God has given me. He's given me the ability to be able to relate that information to real worldly stuff. So then it makes sense. So it's just not like, oh, this guy's just talking nonsense. That's his. I don't know if I can give you specifics, Duran, because it's really to each person. But my main thing is I'm trying to ask, what's wrong with your life? What do you want to be different? It's just, and if they can't answer, it's like, well, how can I help you? There's nothing I can do. I can't force you to have a life. I don't want to tell you the life to have that. That won't work because if another person lived my exact life, they might be like, that sucked. I would never want to live life like that. Why would you do those things? I don't like any of that. So why don't live my life? I need to understand what it is that they want and what they're missing. But so it's those types of questions. And then conversations, will go, deep from there.
Mhm. All right. And then my last question, this will
Sure.
be it for today. So how can people find you? Like, I know you say you're on Instagram. Do you have any
Yeah. So
business websites or anything like
yeah,
that?
my website is www.unk.co, so unk.co. I would say this. I over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been planning as far as a podcast. I knew it was my time to give back. I've been planning it for a long time. Last year, finally, just I took the leap and just went and said, I gotta just start doing this. And I wasn't even on social media. Like I didn't do social media, no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was no, and I'm coming up on 48 years old this year. So I none of that stuff. I that like within the last, I've always had like YouTube, but I would watch like my team's highlights of from the game. I'm not using it for anything. But I saw my kids, how it kind of got introduced. I saw how other people start getting introduced and realized this is where everyone is at. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really kind of came up with a plan to make sure that I was to get out there because that's where everyone is kind of connecting to. So I really started. I'm on Instagram primarily. It's Unk UNC underscore podcast. The reality is setting that, I mean, it's people tend to like short form content because their attention span doesn't last that long, so that is what that is, within a minute and a half worth of material. But ultimately, I have conversations with people like you and I are having one, now, 30 plus minutes. I have real conversations with people all the time that will go, and these conversations, I'm trying to make sure that they are now being shown so people understand, like, look, we're all the same. Don't look at this man or this woman or this ethnicity or anything, and don't think that they don't have the same issues. Don't think that their class level, whether they have a lot of money or less money, that they don't deal with the same things, that they don't have the same mental anxiety, that they feel like their life isn't in order, and that they're worrying about the same things that someone else doesn't have. And it's important for people to understand that, because people are still trying to figure out, how do I fix it? And a lot of times the answer has always been there. And so I will just do my work, and how I know my purpose is to try and help people, understand, the best ways of doing that. So I'm look it I'm when you say how to find me, the website, you can go there. It's just been up just a few months. It's still really developing, but I have material there that will link you to to my other to the other platforms. YouTube is really where the UNC is really going, because live content is coming, where I'm going to be on live having conversations, talking about what's really taking place, and then inviting people to come in and let's talk about this in real time, so people can see, like, everything isn't just recorded. Like, I mean that, hey, we're having real conversations. People are really dealing with this. Like, it's
Yeah.
not, this isn't made up. Like, social media becomes fake. There's AI. There's all these other things, and I want people to realize, like, nah, it's still real out there. There is still some real stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
in order to get people to watch, yeah, you got to have a better looking background, right? You got to
Yeah.
have music. You got to have certain things. Some of that stuff matters, but the reality is they're still paying attention to the message. So it's like, I really want the message, to matter. I've created a studio, here, and so it's there will be in person, live, interviews and stuff going on as well. Because I just want to make sure that real convos about life, are going out there. So
Mhm.
long-winded answer, but that's the best, the way to reach me. You can also email, info@unc.co. On the website, I haven't. I've taken it down where you can connect and set up directly to, as far as like a calendar. I'd rather have people email me for me to set up. I did have it auto where people could set up appointments, but I really kind of want to vet, stuff out. What I've definitely noticed with social media is you don't know exactly who you're going to end up, connecting with, and not everybody has all the right intentions. And next thing you know, there's people that are just pretty wild out there, and they're just trying to,
Mhm.
trying to waste time. And I'm not here for any, for any
Mhm.
of that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I know we got to go here, but I do appreciate you being vulnerable with me and being able to open up.
No, no problem.
And stay likewise, stay in touch with me. All right, just go ahead and continue where you left off at, and